The Valari had ruled the galaxy for a long time. No one knew when they first appeared. Some said they came from a world of silver skies and silent oceans. Others believed they were born from pure energy. What everyone agreed on was this: the Valari were powerful, peaceful, and in full control. They did not use weapons. They did not destroy cities. They only sent their message, and every planet listened. Join us, live in peace, follow the unity of the mind. It was soft, calm, and strangely beautiful. Most civilizations obeyed. They believed it was better to live quietly than to die loudly. The Valari were tall and slim, with smooth silver skin and no mouths. They spoke through thought, not sound. Their minds were linked, forming a great mental web. They did not argue. They did not fear. And above all, they did not feel strong emotions. When their silver ship arrived near Earth, they expected another easy welcome. The ship did not fire a single shot. It hovered quietly in the sky above the ocean, shining like a mirror in the sunlight. People looked up in wonder, unsure if they should cheer or hide. Inside the ship was a messenger named Corrin. Like all Valari, Corrin had no need for emotion. He had delivered the same message to many planets, and the result was always the same: peaceful surrender. He sent a thought wave through satellites, screens, and phones. Every leader on Earth heard the same message at the same time: people of Earth, you are now part of the Valari system. We offer peace, knowledge, and unity. There is no need for fear. Let us guide you. Let us help you. Let us calm your minds. Many humans were confused. Some were afraid. Others were ready to obey. Some world leaders gathered in secret meetings to talk about the offer. Was it real? Was there danger? Or was this the beginning of something better? But not everyone wanted to bow in a hot desert town, far from any big city. A young engineer named Rai watched the message on a small screen. He had dark skin, tired hands, and sharp eyes. He had built water machines, solar lights, and simple computers for his village. He was not a soldier. He had never even left Earth, but something inside him started to burn. He felt it in his chest like a fire. Not anger, not fear, but something deeper. It was a feeling that he could not ignore. Rai stood up and looked at the sky. The silver ship was just a small dot in the distance, but to him, it was a warning. He turned to his friend May, a farmer who worked the dry soil with strong arms and a kind heart. "This is wrong," Rai said. "What do you mean?" May asked. "They want to take our choice. They want to control how we live, how we think. But they didn't attack us," May replied. "Maybe they really want peace." Rai shook his head. "Real peace does not come from control. It comes from freedom." That night, Rai could not sleep. He sat on the roof of his house, looking at the stars. He thought about history, about humans who fought for freedom long ago, about the cost of silence. The next morning, he went to the local radio tower, where old equipment still worked. He adjusted the knobs, connected wires, and found a signal. Then he spoke into the microphone. "This is Rai from the desert. I speak to all who can hear. The Valari want to rule us without war. They offer calm, but they take away our voice. Do not be fooled. We must not kneel." At first, no one replied, but his message spread across shortwave radios and old networks. A few people listened. Some laughed, some ignored it, but others felt the same fire in a mountain town. A pilot named Tomas heard the message and remembered the stories. His grandfather told him about bravery. In the city, a teacher named Lena wrote Rai's words on the school wall for her students to read. In the cold forest of the north, hunters paused and looked up at the sky, thinking deeply. The Valari felt the first sign of something strange: resistance. Corrin was confused. He had studied humans before the mission. He knew they were emotional, but he thought they would be easy to calm, like other species. Yet something was different here. The thought waves that worked on other worlds were weak on Earth. Many people felt sleepy and relaxed, but not all. He reported to the central mind. Some humans resist our influence. Their minds are loud, filled with noise and chaos. The Valari mind web replied, "Increase the calm field. Show them peace." So they did. The ship released soft energy into the air. People began to feel tired. Dreams came quickly. Some stopped questioning. Some even walked toward the ship's light, believing it to be hope. But Rai and his small group stayed awake. Somehow, their minds did not bend. Rai believed it was because they chose to feel, to think, to act. He looked at May, Tomas, and Lena now standing beside him. We may be few, Rai said, but we are not weak. We still have our voice, and while we do, they cannot rule us. It was only the beginning. The Villari ruled the stars, but Earth had something they had never faced before. Not stronger weapons, not smarter minds, but the one thing no machine or mind link could ever erase: the human spirit. The message of Rai spread slowly but clearly. In the beginning, most people didn't care. Life had not changed much. The Villari ship still floated in the sky, quiet and shining. No war started. No cities fell. It almost felt like a dream that would end on its own. But some people kept listening. In the cold hills of the north, Tomas, a quiet pilot with sharp eyes, heard Rai's second message on his old radio. He remembered flying over empty lands and thinking how free the sky felt. He remembered his father's words, "A man is free when he chooses to be." Tomas picked up his old jacket, walked out of his cabin, and headed south. In a farming village, May stood in her field, holding her tools, thinking about her crops and her children. The fields were dry, and life was hard. When she heard Rai's words on the village speaker, her heart felt heavy but proud. She did not have a gun or armor, but she had strength in her hands. She packed food, kissed her children goodbye, and walked to find Rai. In a quiet school near the capital, Lena, a teacher, watched her students stare at screens showing the Villari messages. The students looked peaceful. Some no longer asked questions. Some no longer laughed. She turned off the screen and told them a story not from a textbook, but from her own heart. She told them about the right to speak, to think, to feel. That night, she left the school and followed the same signal that had reached so many others. By the end of the week, Rai's camp had grown from 5 people to 30. By the next month, there were hundreds. They came from all places: cities, forests, villages, mountains. Some were young, some were old. They didn't have the same skills, but they had the same fire. Rai stood in front of them one evening as the sun fell. He looked tired, dusty, but full of purpose. "I am not a leader," he said. "I'm just a man who doesn't want to live under someone else's mind. But if we stand together, we don't need to fight with guns. We fight with ideas. We fight with truth." There was silence for a moment. Then, one by one, people started clapping, nodding, and speaking. They were ready. While this happened on Earth, Korin, the Villari messenger, floated above in his ship. He sat still in a silver room, surrounded by soft lights and quiet sounds. He had studied the human mind deeply. He had read thousands of files. He had watched their movies, listened to their music, and read their history. But he still didn't understand them. The more peace the Villari offered, the louder the resistance became. It confused him. Other species had accepted the Villari mind link. With happiness, they gave up war, anger, and pain. The Villari took away the storms inside their minds and gave them peace. So why did humans keep fighting? Korin called to the central mind once more, requesting permission to use dream towers. He said, "They will calm the humans." The answer came at once, granted. That same week, silver towers began to appear across the planet. They floated down from the sky like gifts. Each tower shined softly and hummed with energy. The Villari called them peace beacons. They told the humans that entering the towers would bring rest, healing, and peace of mind. People were curious. The tired, the sick, the lost. They walked toward the towers. Many entered. None came out. Rai's group heard stories about the towers. People said they were safe. Others said people were disappearing. The resistance had to find the truth. Tomas, Lena, and a few others moved at night toward a tower outside the city. They wore old clothes and carried simple tools. Tomas had a scanner. Lena carried a small camera, and one young boy named Yul led the way. They reached the tower without trouble. It stood quiet and tall, its silver surface reflecting the stars dot inside. It was colder. The walls glowed. There were no guards, no traps. Just a soft humming and a strange smell like clean air mixed with something sweet, deeper inside. They found the truth. Rows and rows of glass pods. Inside each pod, a person lay still, eyes closed. Breathing slowly, machines whispered around them, feeding images into their minds, dreams of perfect cities, kind skies, and endless peace. Lena placed her hand on one pod. Inside was a young girl with flowers in her hair. She looked happy, but she was not awake. This is not peace. Lena whispered, "This is sleep without choice." Tomas took photos. "You'll downloaded data." They ran back to the camp with the evidence. The next day, Rai showed the images to the growing crowd. The people watched with silence and fear. They promised peace. Rai said, "But they gave us prisons, beautiful prisons. They want to take away what makes us human." He looked at the crowd. Their faces were hard now. No more doubt, no more delay. "We cannot allow this. We will not enter their towers. We will wake those who are trapped. And we will remind the Velari that humans may fall, but we always rise." That night, the first team broke into a tower and rescued 6 people. The day after, another team saved 10 more. The Velari tried to stop it by closing doors and sending soft waves to slow minds. But it didn't work. The resistance was awake. Korin watched from orbit. He read the reports. He saw the videos. He listened to Rai's new message, which now played across space. "We don't want to rule. We don't want war. We only want to live free, to think, to feel, to choose. This is who we are. This is what it means to be human." Korin felt something shift inside him, a question he had never asked before. What if peace without freedom was not peace at all? The resistance had grown stronger. Rai's message had crossed borders and oceans. It had reached villages, cities, and even the spaceports where Earth's few ships waited for use. People were no longer just talking. They were acting. They were waking those inside the dream towers. They were spreading the truth across the planet. Silver towers stood like quiet ghosts. Most people avoided them now. Some watched them with fear, others with anger. Many who had entered never returned, but every night the resistance sent teams to rescue the lost. The Velari did not respond with force. That was not their way. But they increased the reach of their calming waves. The skies began to shimmer with soft lights. The air carried a strange feeling, warm, quiet, slow. People who were tired or unsure started falling into deep sleep even without entering towers. Korin, the Velari messenger, watched Earth from above. He stood in the middle of his silver ship, surrounded by glowing shapes and quiet hums. He saw the resistance's actions on many screens. He heard Rai's voice echo through human networks. Korin did not understand how humans could resist the calm. On other planets, once the dream towers opened, the people gave up their struggles. They chose peace. They forgot fear. They let go of their past. But humans were different. Korin opened a file called Human Emotion Study. It was full of images and recordings: laughing children, crying parents, angry workers, dancing crowds, cheering soldiers. There were songs, poems, and old speeches from human history. One clip played a voice from Earth's past. "We do not surrender. We may fall, but we will rise." Again and again, Korin paused the file. He could not explain why, but something inside him felt strange. It was not pain, not fear. It was something he had never felt before. He closed the file and sent a report to the central mind. Resistance continues. Humans are not responding to standard comm methods. Request study of their emotional systems. Request further instruction. The central mind replied quickly, "Study granted. Capture a sample of resisting humans. Begin." Direct mental contact. Korin prepared a small silver craft. It moved silently toward Earth, invisible to most sensors. Its goal was to observe a resistance camp and find someone for mental connection. Back on the ground, Rai's camp had moved into the hills. There were now over 400 people living together. Some built shelters from old wood and scrap metal. Others gathered food, built radios, and trained new members. Rai stood on a rock each morning to speak. His voice was steady. His words were clear. We are not at war with the stars. We are fighting for the right to feel the sun, the wind, and the truth. No tower can give that to us. No dream can replace it. One night, as the camp rested, Lena sat near a fire with a notebook in her hands. She was writing down everything, every speech, every rescue, every moment. She believed stories had power. Someday, others would read them and remember. Tomas sat nearby, checking an old map. He pointed at a spot in the forest. This tower here, he said. It's different. People say they hear music coming from it. Not machine sounds, real music. May looked up from sharpening her tool. Music from a Velari tower. Yes, Tomas said. A soft voice too, almost like someone calling for help. Rai heard this and made a choice. We go at sunrise. The next morning, they moved through thick trees toward the tower. The sun was low. The air was still. Birds flew above them. The sound of the tower came faintly, a soft song, like a lullaby. They reached the edge of a clearing. The tower stood there, tall and silver like the others, but this one had vines growing up its side. And yes, there was music, a female voice, calm and smooth, singing a song in no known language. They moved closer. Suddenly, a blue light flashed. The group froze. A figure floated down from above. It was Corin. He did not carry a weapon. His hands were empty. His face showed no anger, no fear, only calm. Rai stepped forward. Hands raised. We don't want to harm you, Rai said. Corin spoke through thought. Everyone heard it in their mind. I do not want harm. I want to understand. The group lowered their hands. This was the first time they had met a Velari face to face. Corin looked at Rai. Your mind is different. It is loud, but not wild. You carry hope. Why? Rai answered, because I have seen what silence brings. It kills the soul. Corin looked at Lena. You write stories. Why? Lena said. Because truth lives in words. Our future needs to remember our past. Corin turned to Tomas. You fly, but you return to the ground. Why? Tomas smiled. Because the sky means nothing if we lose the earth. Corin paused. He did not speak for a long time. Then he said something no Velari had spoken in many cycles. I feel something. Rai stepped forward. Then maybe you're starting to understand. Corin did not respond. He slowly floated back, entered his small craft, and rose into the sky. The resistance watched him go. Back in orbit, Corin sat alone. He replayed the words in his mind. He saw the faces. He heard the song. He opened the human music files again and began listening not as study, but as curiosity. He sent a message to the central mind. Request delay of full dream wave. Request. Deeper study. Humans may hold something valuable. The central mind replied with one word. Denied. Corin looked at the screen. Then, for the first time in his life, he turned it off. The Velari did not give up. After Corin's visit to Rai's group, the central mind sent stronger waves from orbit. The sky changed color at night. A soft glow appeared in the clouds, and people started hearing whispers when they were alone. These whispers said the same things over and over. Rest now. Be still. Let us take the pain away. In cities, some people gave in. They went into the towers. They stopped working. They stopped speaking. Their eyes stayed open, but their minds were far away. They walked calmly and quietly. They forgot who they were. But in the hills, Rai's group grew louder. They had learned something new. Loud sounds, bright colors, and fast movement made the calming waves weak. The Velari systems could not handle noise and chaos. They were built for silence and controlled. Rai stood in the center of camp one night, holding a small music player. He pressed a button. The speakers played a song from old Earth, a wild beat, full of drums and shouting voices. The camp came alive. People clapped, danced, and laughed. Children ran with painted flags. Some banged pots and pans. Some sang songs from their villages. It was not quiet, and it was not calm. It was human. May lit a line of fire sticks and waved them in the air. Tomas flew a small drone above the camp. Flashing lights across the trees, Lena passed out handmade booklets filled with poems and stories. One story was written by a boy named Yale. It was about a tree that refused to fall during a storm. That night, no one slept, and yet everyone felt more alive. The next morning, something strange happened. One of the dream towers near a nearby town shut down. Its silver walls turned gray. The energy stopped. People inside woke up, confused and crying. They had been trapped in dreams, but now they remembered who they were. The resistance cheered. "This is working," Lena said. "Our noise, our colors, our movements hits like fire to their systems." Rai nodded. "Then we light a fire across the whole world." They formed teams. Each group had a task. Team 1 would make music and sounds, drums, songs, speakers, and even fireworks. Team 2 would create bright visuals, paintings, banners, and flashing lights. Team 3 would write and share poems, stories, and old truths from Earth's past. Team 4 would break into towers to rescue the dreaming ones. They called this movement Project Wake. It spread faster than anyone expected. In a city by the sea, dancers performed in front of a dream tower. Their movements were fast and wild. The tower's lights flickered, then dimmed. In the snowy north, children threw colored snowballs at another tower. People watched and joined. Laughter echoed across the trees. That tower went dark 2 hours later. In the desert, farmers drew huge symbols in the sand, words from Rai's speeches. They flew kites made from cloth and hope. The towers there could not hold. The Valari tried to adjust. They sent new waves. They added strange images into dreams. They made promises of perfect life. But it didn't work. The humans were waking faster than they could be calmed. Back in space, Korn watched the reports. His ship filled with alerts and warnings. He sat still, deep in thought. The central mind called him. "Control is slipping. Your mission is failing. What is your explanation?" Korn answered with care. "The humans are not like other species. They do not seek only peace. They seek meaning." "Peace is meaning," the mind replied. "Not for them," Korn said. "They choose to suffer. They choose to feel. Their fire is not weakness. It is strength." There was a long silence. "You are becoming infected by their thought. Return now." But Korn did not return. Instead, he turned off the main connection. He cut himself off from the mind link. The silence that followed was deep and strange. For the first time in his life, Korn was alone, and he felt free. He looked at a photo on his screen. It was from Lina's notebook, a drawing of a bird flying over fire. Under it were the words, "We rise not because we must, but because we choose to." Korn closed his eyes and made a decision. He sent a secret message to Rai. "I want to meet again." Not as a watcher, but as a listener. On the ground, Rai read the message. His first instinct was caution. But then he said, "If he is willing to listen, we must be willing to speak." They chose a quiet place in the forest. No weapons, no tricks. Korn arrived alone. His ship landed gently. He stepped out with slow movements. The humans watched him carefully. Rai stepped forward. "You came," Korn nodded. "I left the mind link. I want to understand." Lena handed him a small music player. "Start here." Korn pressed play. A soft tune began. It was a human voice, full of emotion. Not calm, not perfect, but real. Korn listened, his eyes closed. The music reached into places he had never known. When it ended, he said, "I understand now why we failed." Rai asked, "Do the Valari fear feeling?" "Yes," Korn said. "Long ago, we chose peace over pain. We forgot how to feel. Now, we cannot understand you because you did not forget." Tomas spoke. "We're not perfect, but we fight for our voice." May added, "And we fight for others too, not just ourselves." Korn stood silent for a moment. Then he said, "The dream towers will stop. I will send a command." He turned to leave but paused. "Thank you for showing me the flame," he said, and with that, he flew away. The next day, all across Earth, the towers shut down. People woke up. Families reunited. Music played in the streets. Old stories were told again. Flags of different colors flew side by side in every village, town, and city. Someone lit a fire not to destroy, but to remember. Earth was free again. But Rai knew this was only the beginning. The Villari still ruled the stars. But now, the galaxy had seen a flame that would not go out. The dream towers were gone. Across Earth, people were waking, walking, and speaking again. The Villari silence had been broken. But something even greater had begun. Rai stood on top of a hill, looking at the rising sun. Below him, people worked to clean up the last remains of a broken tower. Families were together again. Songs played on radios, children ran through fields. Flags from old nations were painted on walls, but now they stood side by side. Tomas came up beside him, holding a small device. "We just received a signal," he said. "From the Villari?" Rai asked. "No, from another planet." Rai looked at him, surprised. "Which one?" "A mining world in the Yara system, far away. They saw our message. They heard your voice." Rai took the device. The screen showed a shaky video. It was a group of beings not human, but standing upright, with dark skin like stone and glowing eyes. They held signs written in their language. Behind them, a Villari tower burned. A voice came through, translated by the machine. "We are the Jaren. For many years we lived in silence. Now we remember our names. Your flame reached us. We rise." Rai didn't speak. He only smiled. In the far part of the galaxy, the Villari mind link started to feel cracks. The silence that once held billions of minds in peace now carried noise. Small thoughts of doubt, whispers of questions, weak signals of rebellion. It started with the Jaren, then a planet called Traven, then the water world of Noro. Each time, it was the same pattern. A small group would hear Earth's message. They would share it with others. They would dance, sing, write, or shout. The Villari towers would lose power, and another world would wake up. The central mind grew worried. It called for emergency meetings. It sent stronger waves. But they failed. It ordered more towers to be built, but many were destroyed before they could land across the stars. Something powerful had started. The will to feel again. Korin watched it all from his ship. He had stayed close to Earth, but he listened to transmissions from far systems. Every day, he recorded more messages of freedom. His ship no longer answered the central mind. He had cut himself off fully. He had changed his silver walls into soft colors. He had filled his space with books, music, and art from Earth. For the first time in Villari history, one of their own had chosen a different path. He sent a message to Rai. "Your planet has become a voice in the dark. Other voices are answering." Rai replied with a simple message. The stars were never silent. They were only waiting for someone to speak first. But freedom did not come without pain. In the snowy mountains, a resistance camp was attacked. Villari drones found their signal and moved in. They did not kill, but they used stronger minefields. Some fighters fell unconscious. Others became quiet, unable to think clearly. May was there. She was captured while trying to protect the radio tower. The drones took her to a transport ship and flew into orbit. Lena heard the news and ran to Rai. Her face was pale. "They have..." "May." Rai stood still for a moment. "We get her back." He called Tomas and other pilots. Within an hour, 3 small ships were ready. These were old Earth ships, rebuilt with new systems. They did not have big weapons, but they were fast and silent. The rescue plan was simple. Get to the Villari ship, sneak in, free May, leave before anyone knew. They took off at night. The sky was full of stars. Rai sat in the front seat, hands tight on the controls. Lena sat beside him, checking maps. Tomas flew above in a scout ship. As they reached orbit, the Villari ship came into view. It floated above the dark side of Earth, silver, smooth, silent. They moved under it, using shadow to hide. Then they attached their ship to a maintenance hatch and entered. Inside, it was cold and bright. The walls had no signs, no buttons. Everything worked through thought. But the team had brought devices to block Villari signals. Rai led the way. They found May in a white room, sitting on the floor, her eyes half open. A soft sound filled the room, a dream field. Lena stepped forward and played a loud recording of human music. The sound shook the walls. May blinked fast, then slowly stood up. "Rye," she whispered. He smiled. "We came for you." They ran. Back to the ship. Alarms started, but the Villari were slow. The crew escaped just in time. Back on Earth, the camp cheered when May returned. She was tired, but alive. Rye gave a short speech. "They thought we would leave our people behind. They were wrong." Days later, Corrin sent another message. "The central mind is changing. It is becoming fearful. They now ask questions instead of giving orders." Rye asked, "Will they attack?" "They might, but not all Villari agree anymore. Some want to listen, some want to learn." "Then we speak louder," Rye replied. He sent out a new message, not just to Earth, but to every world. "We are human. We fight not to rule, but to live. We ask others to rise not for us, but for themselves. Your voice matters. Your dreams matter. Wake up." The message traveled far. It reached hidden caves on cold moons. It reached broken ships on mining worlds. It reached quiet minds in deep oceans. And everywhere it went, it started the same spark. The spark of spirit. Korin stood in his ship, looking out at the stars. He remembered the first time he visited Earth. He remembered Rye's words, May's strength, Lena's stories, Tomas's silence. He had seen many worlds in his life, but Earth had changed him. He reached out and touched a small drawing on the wall. It showed a fire in the middle of space. Around it were faces different, strange, beautiful, and at the center, one word was written in many languages, alive. The Villari Empire was strong. For many cycles, their silent rule spread across thousands of worlds. But now, cracks showed in their great mind link. The control they once held was breaking. Corrin had returned from Earth after his meeting with Rye. He carried new thoughts and feelings. He no longer felt the calm that had once filled every Villari. Instead, his mind was restless. The central mind had noticed Corrin's change. It sent messages demanding his return. It called him a traitor. But Corrin ignored them. He chose freedom. Far below, Earth was alive with hope and work. People rebuilt cities, schools, and farms. The towers that once held dreams were empty and lifeless. The sky was clear again. But the Villari were not done yet. New fleets arrived. They moved slowly, but with great power. They wanted to bring Earth back into the system. They wanted to show strength. Rye and his group prepared. They had no big weapons, no giant ships, but they had something the Villari did not understand: the will to live free. Rye stood before the people in a wide field. The sun was warm, and the air smelled of fresh grass. "We do not fight because we want war," Rye said. "We fight because we want to live as we choose. The Villari may have many ships, but we have something stronger: the spirit of humanity." The crowd cheered. Across the galaxy, other planets watched. Some had already risen against the Villari. Others waited quietly. But Earth's courage was a signal. It said, "The time to wake up is now." The first Villari fleet moved toward Earth. Their ships gleamed like stars, but their minds were filled with fear. They had never met such resistance. Corrin stayed in orbit. He no longer wished to fight. Instead, he tried to speak with the fleet commanders. He sent messages in the silent Villari way. "There is a new path, one of choice, one of feeling. We can learn from them." Many Villari did not listen. They believed control was the only way. They sent their ships to surround Earth. The battle was not like others. No beams of light. No explosions. The Villari did not want to destroy. They wanted surrender. But Earth's people stood firm. Rye's group used their knowledge of old satellites, radio signals, and even simple machines. They created disruptions, loud noises, bright flashes, waves of confusion. The Villari ships faltered. Their comm fields broke. Their control weakened. The battle lasted days. One night, Corrin met with Rye again, this time on the ground. They stood near a river, the stars shining above. Corrin spoke first. "Your spirit is unlike anything I have known. We thought peace was silence, but you show me peace is choice." Rai nodded. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. But freedom is worth every risk. Corrin looked troubled. The central mind will not stop. It will try to regain control. Some Velari want to destroy your world. Then we prepare, Rai said. But I want a future where we speak, not fight. Corrin thought, I will try to stop the war. I will speak to the central mind, back in space. The central mind gathered all remaining Velari leaders. Its voice was cold. The humans have broken our peace. They threaten all we built. We must crush this rebellion. Some Velari nodded. Others were silent. A young Velari named Sira stood. She had listened to Corrin's words and Earth's music. We can change. We must learn to feel again. Otherwise, we will lose everything. The council was divided. The fight continued. Earth's people did not win by force, but by spirit. They helped each other, shared food, built shelters, and kept their hope alive. The Velari ships began to leave. One by one, they faded into the stars. Corrin stayed behind. He looked at Rai and said, The choice is yours. Lead your people well. Rai smiled. We will. And one day, maybe we will teach you to feel fully. Corrin nodded. The great mind link began to break. Velari who wished to change started to leave their silence. They wanted to feel again, to learn. A new age was coming. On Earth, Rai stood with May, Lena, Tomas, and Yil. They watched the sky. The stars seemed brighter now. Rai said, The galaxy has seen our spirit. They will not forget. May smiled. We are small, but our fire is strong. Lena held her notebook, and our stories will carry that fire forward. Tomas looked to the horizon. The future is wide open. They all knew this was only the start. But the human spirit had lit a flame in the darkness, and that flame would never go out. The stars shone quietly over Earth. The silence was different now. It was peaceful, but not empty. It was full of hope and new life. Rice stood on the hill near his home. He looked at the sky, thinking about the long journey from the first silver ship that came to Earth, to the great resistance, to the final stand against the Velari fleets. Beside him stood May, Lena, Tomas, and Yil. They were tired but happy. The world around them was changing. People worked together. Children played in the streets. Songs filled the air. Rice spoke softly. We fought for our freedom. But now, we must build a new future. May nodded. A future where no one controls minds, where all choose their own paths. Lena opened her notebook. And where stories and memories live forever. Tomas looked up at the stars. The galaxy is watching. They have learned from us. Far above, Corrin floated in space. The Velari mind link was broken. Many Velari had left the old ways. They were learning to feel and think like humans. Corrin sent a message across the galaxy. The time of silence is over. The time of choice and feeling has begun. Many worlds answered back. Some were still quiet, but many spoke with new voices. Some sent ships to visit Earth. Others asked for help to start their own resistance. Rai's group welcomed them. They shared stories, music, and hope. The flame they had started on Earth was growing. One day, a Velari ship landed near the camp. Corrin stepped out, holding a small flower. It was a human flower, soft and bright. He walked toward Rai. I have learned that true peace comes with freedom, Corrin said. I want to help build this future. Rai smiled. We will work together. The others came forward. May, Lena, Tomas, and Yil welcomed Corrin. They understood that the galaxy was changing. Old enemies could become new friends. The Velari began to rebuild. They created new ways to connect minds without control. They learned to feel emotions. They shared their knowledge with other worlds. Earth became a symbol, a place where the spirit could not be broken. A place where even the strongest control could not silence the voice of freedom. Rai looked at the stars one last time that evening. We are small in the universe, he said, but our spirit is strong. We have shown that no power can take away the heart of humanity. May smiled and added, and that spirit will light the way for all. Lena closed her notebook. Our stories will live forever. Tomas looked at the horizon. The future is bright, Yul raised his hand and said, "We will rise again and again." The galaxy was no longer ruled by silence. It was alive with voices, colors, and dreams. A new dawn had come, and it was just the beginning.